Well, hi there, and welcome to our Sunday Song Time. And I'm actually recording this on what is known as National Flannel Day. Of course, here in Canada, this time of year, National Flannel Day is any day that ends in Y. But anyway, we call it Friday. Hope you're keeping warm. It's actually quite a nice day today, come to think of it. Okay, today, this time round, I have a very interesting song for you. It was actually a hit song, I remember as a kid having some 78s in the house. Remember those big records that spun real fast? And Rosemary Clooney. And even I'm too young to really remember her, although she's in a Christmas movie. You see her pretty much every year. She had a hit with this song. Yeah, sold like 1 million+ copies, called This Old House. And Stuart Hamblin wrote it. Stuart Hamblin wrote a number of gospel songs back in the day. Songs like It Is No Secret What God Can Do. He wrote How Big Is God? And a couple songs like that that kind of became standards back in the 1950s. And this was a song that, it was just kind of seen as sort of a fun novelty sort of song. Like a lot of novelty songs, it really struck big and took off for Rosemary Clooney. But there's actually a spiritual application to it. Yes, and he, I won't get into great detail. First of all, I don't really know all the details, but apparently he had been out, it might have even been the wintertime, but he was out in the woods, and he came upon an old cabin. Looked like it had been abandoned, and he, in fact, found that someone had passed away inside that cabin. And so he contacted the proper authorities, and as he was waiting there, he began to think about, we're all going to come to, that time when we leave this body behind. And he began to think about the body as, kind of like that cabin, like an old house. And he wrote this song based on that. Kind of a quick song. I'll see if I can keep this up. This old house once knew my children. This old house once knew my wife. This old house was home and comfort as we fought the storms of life. This old house once rang with laughter. This old house heard many shouts. Now she trembles in the darkness when the night wind walks about. Well, ain't gonna need this house no longer. Ain't gonna need this house no more. Ain't got time to fix the shingles. Ain't got time to fix the floor. Ain't got time to oil the hinges. No to mend no window pane. Ain't gonna need this house no longer. I'm getting ready to meet the saints. Now this old house is a-getting shaky. This old house is a-getting old. This old house lets in the rain, and this old house lets in the cold. Oh, my knees, they're getting feeble, but I fear no fear or pain, 'cause I see an angel peeking through a broken window pane. I ain't gonna need this house no longer. Ain't gonna need this house no more. Ain't got time to fix the shingles. Ain't got time to fix the floor. Ain't got time to oil the hinges, nor to mend no window pane. Ain't gonna need this house no longer. I'm getting ready to meet the saints. Now my old hound dog lies a-sleeping. He don't know I'm gonna leave, or else he'd sit there by the fireplace and he'd moan and howl and grieve. But my hunting days are over. Ain't gonna hunt them ground hogs no more. Well, you know what he said there back on ground. Oh, never mind. Gabriel done brought in my chariot when the wind blew down the door. Well, ain't gonna need this house no longer. Ain't gonna need this house no more. Ain't got time to fix the shingles. Ain't got time to fix the floor. Ain't got time to oil the hinges, nor to mend no window pane. Ain't gonna need this house no longer. I'm getting ready to meet the saints. Now this old house is afraid of thunder. This old house is afraid of storms. This old house just groans and trembles when the night wind flings its arms. This old house is a-getting feeble. This old house is a-needing paint. Just like me, it's tuckered out, but I'm a-getting ready to meet the saints. No, I ain't gonna need this house no longer. Ain't gonna need this this house no more. Ain't got time to fix the shingles, ain't got time to fix the floor, ain't got time to oil the hinges, nor to mend no window pane. Ain't gonna need this house no longer, I'm getting ready to meet the same. This old house. Hey, you know what? There's a very strange passage in the Bible. Yes. Oh, there are several. But this one comes from the book of Ecclesiastes. Now, that's a big name. Kind of means teacher. And Solomon is the writer of this Old Testament book. Some of you will know the name Pete Seeger. Pete Seeger, yes, folk singer. And for the longest time, he carried around in his shirt pocket some verses from one of these chapters in Ecclesiastes, because he was trying to figure out, oh, I could put some music to this. And he did. And the song ended up becoming the song Turn, Turn, Turn. Right? The Byrds had a hit with that. Right? There's a time for everything, a season for every activity under the heavens, a time to be born, a time to die, time to plant, time to uproot. And so Pete Seeger saw the wisdom in that literature. In fact, Solomon known as maybe even the wisest man that ever lived. And so we get some good quotes from this book called Ecclesiastes. And if you ever want to read a very interesting book, have a look at it. But down in Ecclesiastes 12, I was thinking about, and maybe some of you now already know where I'm going with this, but first of all, Solomon tells us to remember your Creator in the days of your youth, before the days of trouble come, and the years approach when you will say, I find no pleasure in them. We got a lot of people not finding pleasure in life. Before the sun and the light and the moon and the stars grow dark and the clouds return after the rain, when the keepers of the house tremble and the strong men stoop, when the grinders cease because they are few. Now, you know, in these next couple of verses, do you know what he's talking about? He's talking about, well, grinders. He's talking about your teeth. Yeah, when they stop grinding because they start to fall out. They become few. And those looking through the windows grow dim. Oh, yeah. I got these little windows here, and in fact, I think I need some cataract surgery this year. When the doors to the street are closed and the sound of grinding fades. Now, I'm wearing hearing aids now. Okay, I get this now. I get this. When people rise up at the sound of birds. I've heard about that. When you get older, you can't sleep as much. You get up a little earlier. Yeah, I've heard about that. But all their songs grow faint. When people are afraid of heights and of dangers in the streets, when the almond tree blossoms and the grasshopper drags itself along, even the old grasshopper is like, man, these are heavy legs. And desire is no longer stirred. I'll leave that with you. Then people go to their eternal home, and mourners go about the streets. You're going to go to your eternal home. So Solomon says, remember him. Remember him before the silver cord is severed. There's an idea that we have an attachment to our Creator, that silver cord. And earlier in this book, Solomon even says that God places eternity in people's hearts. In other words, we just kind of know, there's more to this life than this life. And he talks about the pitcher being shattered at the spring, the wheel broken at the well. Things looking kind of abandoned. And the dust returns to the ground it came from. Okay, again, that's referring to us, right? Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. But not only is the dust returned to the ground it came from, Solomon says the spirit will return to God who gave it. So, just if you're thinking that, when you die and they put you in the ground somewhere, or maybe put your ashes in a nice looking urn, that might be the end of your body, but it's not the end of you, is it? No. And so you want to get to the place in your life where you don't say what Solomon ended up saying, and that's this: meaningless. This whole life is meaningless. Everything meaningless. Oh, boy. No, set your heart on the things that really matter, the things that will last. Now, as Solomon says, of the making of many books there's no end, and much study wearies the body. I hope I'm not making you weary right now with sharing these verses. But the book ends this way. He says, now all has been heard. Here is the conclusion of the matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the duty of all mankind. For God will bring every deed into judgment, including every hidden thing, whether it is good or evil. So, remember your Creator in the days of your youth. And if you're like me and those days of your youth seem kind of back there a little ways, it's not too late to remember him now. Yeah, remember him now before that silver cord is broken. And, I hope that your old house is still hanging in there, and even if it needs a little paint, as mine does. May the Lord richly bless you, and thanks for tuning in this time round.